Now today I want to talk about power scaling, and we're not actually going to do much power scaling in this video. We're just going to be talking about power scaling. So for those of you who are antsy about power scaling, One Piece community, just hear me out, right? And we're talking about the 5 hardest characters to power scale. Admittedly, only 3 of them are characters, 2 of them are groups of characters, but yeah, you'll see as we go. We'll see as we go. And before that, please, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and as always, spoilers will be down below, so you don't have to worry. But without further ado, let's talk about these characters, and we're just talking about why they're so hard. Now, of course, in the comment section, feel free to talk about what you think, how strong these characters are. Are they hard? Are they difficult? What have you decided about them? And, you know, we can just have the conversation from there. But at number 5 for me are the, Vice Admirals. I was about to say the wrong one. Vice Admirals. Why are they so hard? Well, think about this. Pre-time skip, a lot of the Navy Luffy fought were captains. Always Marine captains. T-Bone, Marine captain. Smoker, Marine captain. There's always a Marine captain. Then he fought, you know, CP, Cypher Pole 9. And they were world government, not Marines. So it's like Luffy never really fought many people from the Marines, and then all of a sudden we jump to Admirals, and those guys were way out of his league, right? So where do the Vice Admirals slot in, and all the positions in between, right? Now, interestingly enough, Smoker was a Commodore, so we know he was above that. And then you get to someone like Drake, who was a Rear Admiral before he left, and it seems that he was, you know, comparable to Luffy in pre-time skip, right? So clearly, based off of that, if we're using that, right, Luffy could compete with Rear Admirals, but not with Vice Admirals, because they're, you know, a whole tier or so above them, and that makes it difficult, right? And after that, even after that, you have the fact that not all Vice Admirals are made the same. You've got Vice Admirals like Garp, who really should be Admirals, or should have been Admirals, but he's a Vice Admiral. Same thing with Momosagi and Shaton. Those guys are clearly Admiral quality, but they're Vice Admirals. Then you get the likes, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got, you know, Bastille, and I forget the other one's name, Maynard, who were essentially one-shot. One of them, I think, by Barto, and the other one by Sabo, but that was with a baby Ryusoken. So, not even a Ryusoken. I think, yeah, a Ryusoken. So, it's clearly not all Vice Admirals are made the same. And then you've got the ones in the middle, Momonga, Onigumo, Strawberry, Dalmatian, Stainless, Yamakaji, all those guys in the middle who seem to be somewhere else. So, it's very hard to tell on the spectrum of Vice Admirals where they lie, because Vice Admirals seem to be entrusted with a lot, and there seem to be many of them, and they seem to be the ones who you can send apart from just the 3 Admirals. So it's very hard to tell. So number 5 is the Vice Admirals. Moving on to number 4 are the Warlords, right? And they're on this list because, you know, that should tell you that they can't be a Warlord level, right? That's, first of all, if you use Warlord level, stop now. Interestingly enough, I have a video talking about Warlord level as well, so you can go check that out. I talk much more about this, what I'm about to say, in that video. But Warlord level is not a thing, and because they're just so hard to pass scale. One, they're just all over the place. And the Warlords in general, the problem with them is that they have very, what should I say, inconsistent showings, because they'll only ever be as strong as Oda wants them until the time maybe they get defeated or they need to be slotted in directly somewhere into the story. Like Jinbei, now we need him somewhere exactly in the story because he's doing the Straw Hats, we're slotting him in. Doflamingo would need to be defeated, we slotted him in. So that's the thing with the Warlords. Apart from that, they're always just a big question mark until Oda needs them. If not, Oda will just leave them in the air. Jinbei was, you know, basically almost died from a Kainu's punch in Marineford, but then, you know, he blocked Big Mom's attack and threw her away. So it's a bit inconsistent there, right? And then you have other characters who, you know, among the Warlords, often we just don't know how strong they are, And the problem is just generally Oda wants them to always be somewhere in between, because some characters are not afraid of them, but then you have moments where just before Kizaru asked, should I go to Wano, someone mentions, a marine officer mentions that, hey, once the Yonko don't move, only the Warlords and the Admirals can stop them. And you think, Warlords can stop a Yonko? Right? But then you have other moments. So, Warlords, number 4 in terms of hardest characters to power scale. Number 4. Then we actually get to the individual characters. And in number 3, I have Katakuri. Katakuri at number 3. Why Katakuri? Is because Katakuri, to some degree, he lacks ambition. And he's a bit too nice. And then we have everything that went on with Luffy and how that relates. Because Katakuri, he lacks ambition in the sense that he's more of a defensive person, right? He's a very defensive person. He shines when he's talking about protecting his family and protecting his little brothers and sisters. That's where he really shines. And that was a big thing as to why Luffy kept getting beaten up at the beginning, is because Luffy was perceived as a threat. But then on the other hand, you get to, when he figures out Luffy's not really a bad guy, it seems that Luffy's able to compete with him at that point, and then the fight becomes equal, right? Because Luffy's not really a bad guy, so there's no real need to protect his brothers and sisters from someone who's not a threat to them. But then, because he always shines when he's protecting his brothers and sisters, when we start talking about it in the context of actually Katakuri going to fight someone, then it becomes a bit weird, because does Katakuri have the will, the haki, the resolve to do that, the determination, being that he's normally great when he's fighting to protect rather than fighting to really attack and take something from someone else. So then there's a question there, like, how does that work with Katakuri? How strong is he then? Should we assume he's the same? Should we assume that he's weaker then? It's really just a big question. There's just no way of knowing. Because even at the end of Luffy and Katakuri's fight, I'll mention that again, because that's really the main part of Katakuri that we saw. Even at the end of that fight, they both fall down and Katakuri gets up first. And then he lets himself fall down again, right? He gets up and then lets himself fall down. And he's like, oh, you coming to Whole Cake Island again? And Luffy's like, yeah. And then he goes to sleep, right? He could have clearly stayed awake longer. He got up first. He could have walked away. But he stayed there in a vulnerable state on purpose. So it's like, how strong is this guy really? And when he's attacking people compared to defending, how strong is he really? Anyway, moving on, at number 2, we have Kizaru, right? And for obvious reasons, whether you want to say this guy is high or whether he's just playing around too much, Kizaru is a very enigmatic person. I don't know if that's a word out. Let's assume it's a word. Enigmatic person, because we can never tell whether he's actually putting effort in or not. Sometimes, we think that, okay, maybe he's just having fun around. He's not actually being serious. And sometimes he's, actually maybe being serious. I don't know. It's not confirmed at any point where he's being serious until maybe he loses. Then we'll know. But, because of that, we can never really place him anywhere, because there's always the option of, yeah, but maybe he wasn't being serious, so he's still a lot stronger. Because I'm just saying, from my experience, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure most of us know that one person who they always seem to take things lightly and always seem to have ease doing stuff, but sometimes they're actually struggling, but their facial expressions and the way they speak just make it seem like everything's easy and everything's all right. So, and Kizaru could be one of those people, right? He could actually be struggling, but the facial expressions and the way he speaks just don't make you think that. So yeah, Kizaru is one of the harder characters. And finally, for me, at number 1 is Basil Hawkins. Now, there's 2 facets to why Basil Hawkins is, one of the hardest, for me, the hardest character in the One Piece World to power scale. And the first one is the tarot cards and reading the cards, because that's very situational, right? Hawkins has never been in a position where he has to go all out, and we don't know when that will be, right? So basically, that's to say that if Hawkins sees he has a good chance of surviving if he does nothing, then he's not going to do anything. Or for example, beginning of Wano, he sees Zoro or Luffy have a 19% chance of surviving the month, basically 81% chance of dying. And then you have to question, was he actually being serious? Because if you know someone has 81% chance of dying, are you really going to put a lot of effort into beating them? So you have to question stuff like that with Hawkins, right? And then sometimes he just doesn't put effort because he clearly doesn't put effort because he's just like, nah, I'm not gonna fight Kaido. And then on the other hand, even after that, you have the tarot cards, in which he says he has really great cards, but at the same time, he has really terrible cards. Now, we don't even know what kinds of cards he has. We know, like, maybe we only know one card which he hasn't shown us, but all the other cards are a complete mystery. And the problem with that is that based on the one card he told us about surpassing your limits, it makes you wonder if he has a lot of cards at level, are they some that are even greater? Less than? How many times past your level? Can he do this for other people, just himself? How does it work, right? So now we have to do mental gymnastics to try to figure out how strong is Hawkins really when he's trying, versus when he's not trying, versus when he's kind of trying, versus when he's just given up, right? We're doing all this mental gymnastics because Hawkins is just... he's just Hawkins. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Are these characters really that hard, or are they simple? Or, you know, maybe you've run into these problems before, and when you thought about the characters in your discussions and you've decided something about them, let me know how you've decided to power scale them, or what you've decided about their character, personality, and their powers, and how that factors into your scales. All that in the description down below. As always, please like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more content like this. If you know someone who needs to hear the truth about the nuances, the difficulties in all this, share this video with them. If you have time, watch one more of their videos, and if not, thank you for watching this video to the end, guys. This is King KZ, and I'll see you in the next one.